So guys, we just got back from our trip in Burma and Thailand in December. It went by so fast. I can't believe we're already here in the new year. And people are always wondering why. Why did we go to Burma? Who even knows where Burma is? So Lenyo, can you give us a little history on Burma?
Sure. A lot of people still call the nation Burma, but it's Myanmar now. But a lot of people still refer to it that way because it's still the Burmese army that I think plays a very heavy-handed role with the people in that nation. But so Burma is made up of an amalgamation of several nations that are tribal nations. So the Wa, the Karenni, the Karen, the Shan, and so all these kind of border tribal nations were a part of Burma. And during World War II, when we had Pearl Harbor, which was horrible, there was a Pearl Harbor of sorts over in Asia as well. And so the Japanese were coming in and taking a lot of territory. So the English came in to help the Burmese people and these tribal people and kind of made a pact. If all you tribes will get together with the Burmese army and with the English, we'll fight back the Japanese. And when we're done, you can all have your states back. And so a lot of the country nations came together to fight with the British. And so what happened is that, of course, they defeated Japan, but these tribal nations were not given their territory. They were not given autonomy. They were tried to be forced to assimilate, to lose their language, their culture, their religion, their natural resources. So the Burmese conflict has been a conflict of one of the longest in the world. It's been over 60 years that these people have been fighting for their independence, which they were promised from the Burmese government that has been, or Myanmar, that has been really heavy-handed and really continues to kill, rape, pillage, set up landmines, chase entire tribes from place to place. When they do, they'll burn them down, put landmines so they can't get back. So this has been an ongoing problem for these people for so long.
So can you tell us why we got involved, or how we got involved with Burma?
Yeah, the reason Reload Love went to Burma is we're an organization that specifically we want to target children impacted by terror. So that's really what motivates us. There's a psalm that says that we pray that someday that man who is of the earth will strike terror no more. And so as we began as an organization, we started praying of where are these children in terror? Where are the kids caught in the crossfire? And so we had a really dear friend, Franklin Graham, came to town, and I told him I was looking for children caught in the crossfire. And he said, well, you might look for some people in Burma. And honestly, at the time, I'd never heard of it. Jen, had you been aware of it?
No.
No, and it turns out there are a couple people on staff, Kelly, and another one of the pastor's wife, Neil's wife, Jackie. They had both been praying for years and years for specifically the Karen tribe, because at that time they had been the most persecuted. The heat kind of moves from place to place. Like today it's the Karenni who are really being attacked, but during the 90s the Karen were really being attacked. So anyway, we heard about Burma, started educating ourselves, and the Lord opened a door.
So we met Dave. We went out to Thailand in March last year. And it was just amazing to meet him, the founder of the Free Burma Rangers. Again, these are the people that run to the bullet. And Dave just felt called to help these people that were being tormented by their own government. And so...
So wait, that's kind of crazy that an entire organization run by Dave Eubanks runs to bullets.
Right.
So what is that organization like? Why do they run to bullets? I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah, that's it.
They want to help people. They believe that everyone deserves freedom, and they want to bring hope and love to others. And if their government isn't going to do that, he wants to do that. And so Dave, by himself, started going into the jungle. He met Ilya, who we've shared his story. And Lenyo, you might want to share a little bit more about Ilya.
Sure. Dave was raised by missionary parents.
Right.
And they had been missionaries in Thailand. And so when all this conflict was going on back in the day for Dave's dad, to get to one of the places we visited last last March, you had to take a 6-week elephant ride to get where we were last time. Now, there's kind of a road there now, but it was like the worst 2-track road I've ever been on in my life. So it was until this year. But anyway, so his dad used to travel really far just to minister to people. And Dave Eubank joined the Rangers as a kid. He said he wanted to be a missionary and a soldier. So he had joined the Rangers, and all this conflict was happening in Burma, right? All these Burmese refugees are pouring across the border into Thailand, into neighboring countries, and the world wasn't doing very much about it. To me, it's really sad that 12 people can die in Paris of terrorism. And yet, in the same time period, over 2,000 children, older people, were murdered by Boko Haram in Nigeria. And the world doesn't look at that, but they'll look at the Europeans and disregard those. And so this is a time period where the world is not looking at Burmese. They're looking at other conflicts. And so many people were coming across the border, and we were told by Dave and his father that a group, the Wa tribe, these are, again, one of these nation tribes in Burma, had been asking for relief. And they didn't just want someone to come in and give blankets and bottles. They wanted help protecting their people. So the Wa tribal people came all the way down from Burma into Thailand, and they had hoped to ask the UN if the UN would help them, and they were refused. And then they tried to go to the United States consulate or to different people within the United States asked for help, and they were refused. So in desperation, they showed up at Dave's dad's place because they heard of a nice missionary. Do you remember the story about the picture on the wall?
Right, and the gentleman walked into Dave's father's living room, and he's like, we need a hero. We need someone. And he's looking around the room, and there's a picture of Dave in his uniform because he was, and he said, we need a hero, someone like that. Who is that? And his dad said, well, that's my son.
And they wanted him to come help protect them or teach them how to protect their people. That's why they wanted a soldier.
Exactly, exactly. So Dave's dad called him and...
Son? Yeah. You'll never believe who's here. The Wa tribal people. And Dave's dad, for, since the 60s, had been trying to make inroads to all these different tribal people and been unsuccessful. And they show up on your doorstep.
Right.
So at that time, Dave decided to come home and help these Burmese refugees. And so it was in the 90s, and a lot from the Karen were pouring across the Thailand border. So this is where we learn the story of Ilya, who you met.
Ilya.
Silly Ilya.
Crazy Ilya.
Singing Ilya. Mad dog, right?
Man
they call
with
him.
passion.
So full of passion. So Dave was coming into the conflict as the Thai refugees coming across Thai from Karen. And he had a truck with 5 packs of medicine in it. And as he was driving up where all the refugees were coming out, a man came out of the bushes. Do you remember the description of Ilya when he came out of the bushes?
Yeah, he's like the Lone Ranger, like Johnny Depp, with all of his gear on and his machete.
I think he had machine gun bullets. Maybe some grenades.
Coming out of the bush.
He says, I'm a medic, can I help you?
Well, Dave is like, I'm just here to help. I don't know where to go. And Ilya says, I'm the last medic, but I've run out of medicine. And Dave
is like, what's in your car?
Right. And he says, I have a truckload of medicine. So let's go.
So they didn't even park the car, just left it on the road, took the 5 bags of medicine, which is all that Dave had, and he meets the medic who speaks the language, and they go back into the jungle.
And they treated something like 1,000 people in that first week.
That's right. They traversed finding bullet wounds, landmine wounds, malaria, all kinds of things, till they ran out of medicine. And then they just kind of disappeared in the jungle mist, which we now understand what jungle mist is like. At night, the fog just comes in on those villages, and there are tall, tall palm trees. And you think it's raining, but it's just the fog, dripping. The condensation dripping off the palm trees.
Every morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you're like peeking out our little bamboo hut. Is that rain?
So anyway, they disappear into the mist. They have one terribly injured person that they need to get to a hospital. So they want to get him to the car. Dave loads this patient into the car, and Ilya says goodbye. And I think Dave's thinking, wait, we are the Free Burma Rangers. I've got one. And Ilya turned to him and said, no, I must go find my family. And so Dave said, what? what family? Yeah. And Ilya's family were a part of the refugees that were running for their lives.
Right.
But he turned back into the jungle. And so he told, Dave said, why on earth would you leave your family to do this? Yeah. And Ilya said, well, I knew two things, that I have good friends and they'll keep my family safe. And number two, I'm the last medic.
Right.
So Reload Love has joined Free Burma Rangers because these people run where no one else can run. Right. If you've seen the terrain of Burma, what's the terrain like, Murray?
Up and down, up and down.
And this team of people, because they were raised there and Dave's an elite athlete, they can run for days and carry people on stretchers. Can we do that?
No.
It took a tractor, a car, a boat, and everything to get to the village. And these people have the skill set that they can run to the bullets because no one's going to airlift them out. There's no helicopter coming. There's no Jeep that's going to get in. There aren't even roads. These are jungle paths. You know, I don't know, picture Rambo or something. Nobody's coming to get these kids or these villages. And that's why they run to the bullets, because they can. Because they want to help in the conflict, and they will get the children to safety.
Right.
And so that's why it was such a perfect fit. We wanted to find children caught in the crossfire, Reload Love, and we found someone who runs to the crossfire.
Right. And then there's Karen, who does the Good Life Club and deals specifically with the
Karen's
kids.
Dave's wife.
Right.
Yeah, Dave's wife.
So she developed this program. Can you explain?
Right. With Karen, she just felt like, what can we do for the children? They're running to the bullet. Dave is teaching these men to become rangers and to protect themselves,
they have to learn
protect
like
their
GPS
people.
and topography and medical skills and communication skills. And that's a part. I'm sorry, we'll get back to Karen, but that's another part, because you did some photography with us. The reason they run to the bullets, it's not to shoot bullets. What did they shoot? Film.
They record what's going on, and they have the capability then to send it out so the world can see what's going on.
They're hoping that CNN or anybody will pick up the filming so they can say, on this day at this time bombs came down, on this day at this time a howitzer, you know. Just recently, as a matter of fact, 2 months ago, the Burmese army shot a howitzer on the parade, you know, marching military ground of the Karenni, killing 20 soldiers and injuring 20 others. And so the Free Burma Ranger want to run there and shoot film, record that so that the world knows the atrocities are happening. So within this organization that runs to the bullets to shoot film, Dave doesn't travel by himself, does he?
That's right.
Who else goes with him?
He has his entire family, his wife, Karen, his son, Peter, and his two daughters, Sahaley and Suzanne. And they are the most amazing kids, aren't they?
Yes. And Karen was a teacher.
Yeah.
And so she came up with this incredible idea that we're not just running to film this and give them medicine and get them out. There's a further step we should take.
That's
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, to help the children. She just has a heart for children, and she felt like every child deserves an abundant life, no matter the circumstances that they're in, no matter what country, tribe they come from, that they deserve an abundant life. And so they created this children's program called the Good Life Club. And what they do is
And Good Life Club is kind of, it's like Jesus said, I came to give life and life abundantly.
Yes.
But tribal people might not understand abundantly, but Good Life Club they would get.
Right.
So she wants to introduce that these Burmese and tribal people deserve a chance at abundant life, a good life, just like my kids or grandkids. So what is the program? What is it about?
So they do songs and skits and dancing, and they make little bracelets with the beads that gives them the gospel message. Exactly. And so what's so cool is that a lot of these people, the main religion in Burma is Buddhism. However, through the Good Life Club, they get to teach the kids about the gospel and the love of Jesus, and that brings them, that is our abundant life, is the hope of Jesus and salvation. And so they put on a skit that gives a Bible story, and they also...
songs, they did calisthenics. You went out there and showed them how to do a burpee, or what is it?
That was so fun, the mountain climbers. And then they break them up in groups, and they teach them also how to get around in
they make
the
them
jungle.
junior rangers, so to speak.
Exactly. So if they don't have a compass, they'll teach them how to do it mathematically with a pencil and paper. How
Should your
to
tribe
track.
get in trouble, or you have to run as kids, how could you navigate your way through the jungle?
Exactly. And they have a hygiene. They teach them hygiene, how to take care of themselves.
They leave a camera, teach them how to record things that may happen to their village.
Right.
And so it's pretty amazing. And they give them medical. They'll show them where the major organs are, leave a stethoscope, so that, again, that these kids might have a shot at being the people in their village to help in the future.
Right.
So that's Good Life Club. But why did we go back? We just returned home right before the holidays. So we just went to Burma, the three of us, again. So why did Reload Love go?
Yeah, so we went on this trip because we actually got to put on the Good Life Club with them. When we went in March, we went across to Burma, an IDP camp, and we just kind of got to sing some songs and give out some snacks, but it wasn't the full program. And so this trip, we were able to help them prep and put on the Good Life Club. It started at 8:30 in the morning till the sun went down with a movie out in the rice paddy fields. And
Murray, you had a beautiful story about that day. You were with the kids at night. I mean, it really did start early with calisthenics, and you went all the way till the evening.
So, that night they had prepared a kids movie, like a cartoon, but they translate it into Karen. So picture a hall up in the village, and there's no power, no water. So everyone...
No phones, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury.
No luxuries. And so we arrived with 2 motorcycle batteries and a little projector, a laptop and a speaker. And then a sheet, and we set the sheet up at the end of the hall.
Like in a bamboo hut.
Yeah, and so there's our projector screen, and then the 2 batteries power an inverter, and that provides the electricity for the projector and the sound and the laptop. Then we put it up on the wall, and these kids just flocked in from all throughout the...
Well, imagine, they live in a jungle. There are no lights. There's no street lights. There aren't cars.
Even that morning, I was just shocked. Like, there were probably close to 100 children. I never counted, but
I think
it was amazing.
I think it was more
like, where did they come from?
But at night, you see these little headlights coming through the jungle.
Yeah, they
like
wear
fireflies.
little, like miners, you know, the
like
7 dwarfs,
headlights,
hi-ho.
and so they come through the jungle, and then they sat down, and the thing was, Edward, who was with us, said, let's play some songs. So I got the guitar and started singing Give Me All in My Lamp, and these kids just joined in. Now, I couldn't see how many there were, how old or anything, and they couldn't see me. So it was like I'm singing and they were clapping and yelling, and it was just this amazing noise, giving joy to the, worshiping God.
Murray, you were like a jukebox. We brought Murray into the jungle, and we brought a guitar with us. Reload Love brought this. It was a beautiful Taylor. And you kind of, I hope they put a picture up, because you had this Taylor, and you even inscribed Reload Love on it. And one of the things you did, you got to leave the guitar behind, right?
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
Well, there was a guy, Jabo, who had stood up in front of all these kids, and he had so much passion singing for them. But his guitar was small. It was a tiny little treble one. It was like he'd be hammering away.
And they have nylon
noise
strings, and they're not in tune.
So it was such a joy to say, Jabo, here's a good guitar, mate. And his eyes lit up, and we took a picture, and he went out and played for the kids, and it was
Now,
amazing.
This Good Life Club we saw, that's not the only Good Life Club that's going to happen this year in the Burmese area. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we were in Thadair, and so they go to different villages.
They do about 100 missions?
100.
They have 70 teams. There's over 300 Free Burma Rangers now that build up 70 teams, and they go on 100 missions, just like the one we saw. And the reason I bring that up is when Karen heard we gave away the guitar, she goes, who did you give it to? And you said, Jumbo. And she said, thank you, Jesus. He's going on one of the missions that didn't have a guitar. And so that made it even better. Jen, we were there to join this Good Life Club, Reload Love did. How much money have we raised so far for the Good Life Club and for Free Burma Rangers in Burma?
Over $30,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So this $30,000 that we've raised in less than a year, just several months, has gone over to support these Good Life Clubs. And each Good Life Club costs about $100, and they're going to do 100 of them. So we need a lot of money.
Yes.
I don't know, it's almost $1 million, I think, if you figure it out. And we got to go on this one. The other exciting thing is, do you remember the day we were preparing for it? We were living in these huts, and you had to climb a bamboo ladder to get in and out of the hut. And we came out one day, and there was just a sheet on the ground, and a lot of these Free Burma Rangers, male, female, they were divvying up medicine.
The medicine.
Right.
And Karen came over and said, "Do you see this sheet full of medicine?" That was what Reload Love provided for this particular mission.
Right.
And so we got to watch these medics in training go through these piles of medicine and make sure there was going to be enough at each spot. And we got to see the medical clinic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that was, I forgot to mention that when they have the Good Life Club, they also put up a tent and they create a little medical clinic. And so mommies come with their babies. We were able to pray with some of them.
Lay hands
They're
on
just
them.
dripping and sick with whatever, but they have the medics right there with them, checking out the babies
So it's
and giving
beautiful.
medicine.
In the jungle, again, they don't have doctors and nurses and clinics and hospitals and emergency rooms. So this may be the only shot to come in and find somebody who could help you, in a particular situation. So we were privileged to travel with a doctor named Joe.
Yes.
From Scotland, who'd come all the way into the jungle to run this clinic and to teach the Free Burma Rangers who are becoming medics how to kind of do this on-the-site triage type thing. So, but it was our medicine that Reload Love had provided for this trip. And clearly, we've provided 30,000, and we could provide a whole lot more if people would donate to Reload Love, and they can donate any amount. We've had large amounts to our shock and amazement. And then, really every dollar adds up.
Counts.
And every necklace, Jen and I have one on, these are $30, and one necklace ensures that one child will make it into a Good Life Club.
Right.
So you know what? If we just get enough people to wear a necklace. Reload Love is a campaign, first of all, of relief. We want to help kids in the crossfire. But to bring the relief to them, we also have to raise awareness.
Right.
So it may sound like sometimes we're going into history teaching, why Burma? Well, people aren't aware of what's happening in Burma. The Free Burma Rangers are an organization of awareness. Let's put it on film and hope people pick it up. And so now we feel like we're putting the spotlight on the Free Burma Army Rangers so that people can give to get the Good Life Club. So it's trying to get more people aware so we can get more finances to help more kids.
Right.
Right. And it's important. I mean, Thadair itself has been overrun 3 times. The church we were in was burnt down and
so
just
our
rebuilt.
audience, that's a whole new term, Thadair. That was the name of the village we went to. And you're right, Thadair has been ravaged over history in this region, and the church that we visited burned 3 times.
And they built it.
And you got to sing at that church.
We got to sing at that church as well. We all got to sing. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. And a little bit of history of Thadair is that this village has been fighting since World War II as well. When this all happened, the British came to this area, and Sergeant Seagram, and the locals renamed him Daddy Longlegs, Granddaddy Longlegs. I guess he was tall. And so he came in, and he had a great ability with linguistics. He had served other places with the British Army. Came in, and he was able to adapt to the language quickly. And one of the first people he met was a man named Malwa. And Malwa was a part of the village, and Malwa is a Christian. And so Malwa was holding this village together, and he had determined in his heart that he would not relocate to live in a refugee camp or an IDP camp. He would rather die in his land with his people than leave. And so the day before we got there, or the day after we got there, there was going to be a memorial service for Malwa. And we felt so privileged to come all the way out of the jungle into the middle of Thadair, and that Malwa had fought side by side with Seagram. And Dave Eubank of the Free Burma Rangers had met Malwa. And so when he was building his group, he came to this Thadair, and Malwa came out. And Dave said, "I would like to work with you and help you." And Malwa just made a beautiful comment. Do you remember what he said, Jen?
I don't.
He said that I will be with you as long as you are with God.
Yes.
But if you are not with God, I am not with you.
Yes.
And so Dave and Malwa started working together. So now you have Seagram and Malwa and Dave Eubank. And then Malwa had a son and they nicknamed him, do you remember?
Taxi.
And why did he get that name? Do you remember?
Because he got tasked with carrying people's luggage in and out right from the river.
To get into Thadair, we had to, first we started in Thailand, right?
Yeah, 8 hours.
8 hours in a car.
In a car.
Four-wheeling.
It's not the kind of four-wheeling that you could just lay your head back and sleep.
You tried.
You bang on to each other. So it's an 8-hour dusty.
So 8 hours in the truck and then to the river and then what?
They just throw our russacks on the sand dunes in the river and pretty much say hide until the boat comes.
Yeah.
And then we jumped in a boat.
For an hour.
You didn't have to wear a tarp or anything.
No, because I have dark hair.
We had to cover ourselves.
Yes,
with
the
that.
Galawas.
You're kind of the river. The river comes. You know, there's
the border between Burma and Thailand.
Thailand's up in the hills here. Burma's there, and we're kind of making a crossing that is unconventional.
Right.
And so we have to cover ourselves up. And we're carrying 20, 30-pound backpacks, right?
Right.
So as soon as we get on the other side of the river, they just throw our bags in the sand and say, put them on and run through the sand dunes to get up into the hills quickly.
Yeah. And from there, it's 2 days hike, right to Thadair.
Yes.
Yes.
So 2 days hike, and we're not talking hiking on,
flat
surfaces.
Yeah, these are mountains that make the sand dunes look like a baby, like Bambino.
Yeah. You pulled out this fancy app on your phone, and some of the inclines and declines we were on were...
so we're like 30 degrees, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're walking up, it's like, really? We're going up there?
Yeah. So 2 days in to just get to this other village, and when we get there, it was nighttime, and I've never done this before. And we get to this village, and we're thinking, oh, my goodness. And they say, oh, no, 1 more hour.
Yeah.
And now the terrain has turned from this to rice paddies.
Right.
And it was that wet fog that we talked about, and the rice paddies were wet. Yeah. And the rice paddies have like bamboo on them, maybe 2 pieces. And there's bamboo bridges, right?
Yeah,
going over rivers.
Bamboo,
I've never crossed I kept saying, I don't have jungle skills. I don't know how to walk on bamboo. I'm trying to do it like a balance beam. One piece of bamboo. Now you had to duck walk or something. But so anyway, now it's an hour trek. It's muddy, it's slippery, it's bamboo, it's nighttime, it's misty, and I've never put on one of those headlamps before. And so Jen was so sweet, she got ahead of us and she turned on her iPad so there was music. So we could at least follow the music into Thadair. But so we get to Thadair, and the reason Taxi had his name is when Dave was starting to make inroads, Taxi, Malwa's son, would go all the way to the river and escort people in and out. What took us forever, he would do it 4 or 5 times a week. So they named him Taxi, and he would help carry things in. So here we are in Thadair that has been burned. Daddy Longlegs, Granddaddy Longlegs, Seagram has been there, Malwa's been there, Dave's been there, Taxi has been there, and we got to go to the memorial service for Malwa. And Taxi had an older brother who had served in the Karen Army, the Karen Liberation Army, and he had died. And so Taxi had been running with the Free Burma Rangers, but he wanted to honor his father who fought alongside Seagram and honor his brother who had lost his life. And so Taxi is now a part of the Karen National Liberation Army.
And there is reminders there. We found bullet casings dated back to 1974 from AK-47s. That had been a reminder of the overrun, the invasion of Thadair.
And so that people understand that the threat's still real. While we were at Thadair, a team of people hiked just 2 hours, and they were right at a Burmese army encampment.
And that day that we watched the Burmese army, and as they went on a patrol, one of them trod on a landmine. So it's very real, it's very raw, it's still going on today.
So Reload Love needs to be there because the need is still there.
The need is still there.
And Dave is still trying to help the people. I love their philosophy too, is they're always the last man. They do not leave a village until everybody is safe.
You never give up.
That's right. They never give up. And so they put themselves in harm's way just to get those babies out and get them in a good life club.
And I think speaking of the memorial service we went to, that kind of brings us to that being one of your big highlights of the trip, and just how that impacted you, of being able to see the legacy and that Reload Love just so happened to be planted right there in the midst of that.
That we feel honored that we're standing on the shoulders of people like Malwa and his son and Seagram and Dave, and that we can now continue to do what others have been trying to do for this nation for over 60 years. And we're privileged.
Right, exactly.
Just so privileged.
Totally privileged. I think for me, one of my greatest highlights was when we were making the trek down and we were on the tractor, and poor Murray had to sit on the back and hold himself while we were in the front with Ilya holding on for dear life. And
so people know tractors have never done this before.
Yes.
Everything was a hike prior to this. But because Karen's been peaceful toward the river for the last maybe 3 years, someone has actually graded a tractor trail. And so we were privileged to sit on one and put our backpacks to get a little bit of a boost out.
Yes, exactly. So on some of the trails, as you guys remember, it's a tight road.
Very tight.
So there's the trees and these cool vines coming out that look really beautiful, but they have these vicious spikes in them, like a rose, but it's much sharper. And you got one stuck in your ear.
Yeah, one caught me on the ear and just tore.
Sliced.
And so I'm Jen, can you help? I had blood coming down the side of my head. And so Jen's like, what do I do?
We were with Ilya the medic.
Right, Ilya the medic. So we stop the tractor and we get down, and Ilya, I was like, oh, I have wipies. So I go to give them to Ilya. I'm like, here, Ilya, you're the medic. And he said, my hands are dirty. And he looks at me and he's like, Jen, sometimes we become different things in the jungle. And in that moment, it just really spoke to me. It wasn't like he was, you weren't pouring blood. It wasn't gruesome. But in that moment, it just spoke to me that God just wants us to be available and willing, and he will empower us and give us the gifts and the tools right there in that moment, that we just have to be willing, and he provides. And it was just a beautiful moment.
Ilya went and grabbed that plant and rubbed it. It was, and he said it's like making iodine.
Exactly.
He smeared it all over.
Smears it on your ear.
But I think that's, again, the point. Not your average person is ever going to make it into Burma. We're amazed that we did. And again, just one necklace with Reload Love. Just one donation. You may never get to go on this trip, and that's okay. You may not want to.
Yes.
Because of the things we ate. But so somebody may not be able to, but there are people with a particular set of skills that know how to do this, actually love it and love the people and Reload Love. We just want to be a conveyor of blessings to give them all the things that they need to get them into the kids that are in the middle of Burma.
And, for Reload Love, we kind of are the middleman, where we're the ones raising awareness, we're the ones raising the funds for the people that are on the ground and are called to this full time. But the reason why we feel called to go on these trips is because someone can describe a beautiful piece of art or a really great, yummy entree at their favorite restaurant. But you don't really fully grasp it until you go and partake and you taste it, you smell it. And that's the purpose of us as the Reload Love elite teams, going to be on the ground and experience the people we're partnering with firsthand.
And we also want to know the people that we're partnering with, that we have vetted this completely. Some organizations have not been honest with their funds, and we wanted to follow exactly where our money went, what it bought, where it went, what kids were impacted by it, who is conveying it, is the gospel being preached, our lives being changed, is Jesus really in this organization, because this is a Christian organization. And so we wanted to make sure that the people who partner with us have complete confidence that we are being right by their finances and making sure that it really is impacting kids with not just food and games and relief, but also the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
And I think what was such an amazing thing to see is children are children no matter where you're at, no matter in the jungles of Burma or on the streets here in New Mexico. They're not these kids just sad walking around and oppressed. They are just regular children laughing and playing and having fun.
In a place there's no television, there's no video games, there's no streets, there's no cars, there's no shops.
Right.
I dare say they appear happier than our children.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
They sing a lot, yeah.
Yeah, they sing
absolutely.
a lot.
They sing and play, and it's real, it's raw, it's like something we don't see here.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing too, there's not a lot of excess. When you have rice for every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, white rice, it's like
white rice, broth, and some other mysterious thing.
Mystery meat. Right.
If you have
the pumpkin was really good though.
Yeah. Not every meal even had meat.
Right. Yeah.
And there were no soda pops. There was no iced tea. There was no lemonade. We pretty much drank water. That, Thadair would walk to the river and fill these bamboo pipes with water, bring them in. They would put them on top of a bonfire and heat it so that we could drink it and we could have wood-flavored water.
Smoke-flavored, yes.
Smoke-flavored water is what we drank in the jungle.
Yeah.
I think some of the shocking thing while we were there is we saw an awful lot of soldiers that were very young.
Right.
And in a lot of these terror situations, they conscript kids. I know that I've been in other countries where in Rwanda with the Hutus and the Tutsis, children were forced to kill family members so that they were inclined to now just become a part of the army family. Right. And so I am brokenhearted that so many of these places in the world arm children with weapons. And Reload Love's different. What is it that we hope most of all?
Yeah, we arm children with hope.
Arm them with hope.
Yeah.
And that we want an army of love. And so that's why we say we want to drop the L bomb. We want to drop a love bomb. And so instead of all these horrific things, that we have this opportunity that we think terrorism is the problem, but
love is the answer.
That's right. That's why we're Reload Love. That we really do believe love is the answer. And we know God is love.
Yep.
And so that's just one of the big hopes for us as an organization. And so anywhere, we are helping in other places and have helped. Just this year, 2014, moving into 2015, we were able to help finance 2, I think, loads airplanes going into Iraq.
That's right. Yeah, we were able to help the Kurdistan people in Iraq with 2 cargo planes that provided baby formula, blankets, coats, and we're hoping to do some more work out there in February. Coming up next month.
We will be sending a team to the Middle East, and they will be on the front lines in the Middle East, traveling to 3 different countries. And so that is really exciting to us.
Yeah.
And so before we go, we're hoping to drop this L-bomb on February 14th and 15th.
Right.
You can give all day long, as many times as you want to. Come to reloadlove.com. And we're dropping a money bomb, love bomb, and we want to raise $50,000 in 2 days for this trip that more of our Army of Love, our soldiers of love, are going to be marching to the front lines. And what would that be providing this time, Jen?
So what it's going toward is children's spaces is what they call it. And what they're doing, they're not building a facility like a community center, but they're using buildings that are already in the neighborhood. So they're going to start in a church, and they're creating these spaces for children to go to get tutoring, to learn, and to play, and just be in an environment for children to feel safe rather than afraid, because they are IDPs and they want to create a place for them to feel safe and to also be educated while they're in this situation from being attacked by ISIS.
So IDP?
Internally displaced people.
Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry.
But I think one of the sad truths we've had to learn, and I'm sorry for my emotions, that children experience PTSD.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, as Americans, we understand that our soldiers are having post-traumatic stress syndrome, and some of them are committing suicide. They're on multiple medications, living not the lives they expected to live when they came home. And I don't think we're aware as the world that children who live in war zones day in and day out develop PTSD. And so the hope is for these safe zones to help children combat PTSD is to provide safe environments. And what we learned from Karen and the Free Burma Rangers is that as soon as you can reestablish normalcy for a child, the sooner they will recover from PTSD.
Right.
So if you pull them out of a village and you do a Good Life Club where there's games and singing and laughing,
Fun.
and you establish a school behind you and safety behind you, even though it's not their normal village, at least you've given them something to hold on to that is a bit of normal.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're trying to do in Iraq and these other places is provide these safe zones. And so that kids do feel like things that they would have had,
Exactly.
The UN has said that the Syrian war, I think there's over 2 million refugees from the Syrian war currently, it might even be more, that Syria has lost a generation of children. This is a generation that once you get into a refugee camp, you really never get home.
Right.
Rarely. And so there are kids in Jordan and Turkey and Lebanon and 2 million. And there will not be doctors and nurses and school teachers. These kids are not going to get a shot at the future.
Right.
This has disrupted them. And so to put a safe zone, to get anything on a refugee camp, because once you're there, you can't patriate into the country. You cannot become that country. You don't get a passport, you don't get a green card, and you cannot repatriate. You can't go home.
Right.
And so now you are stuck in this no man's land, this in-between, never land. And so that Reload Love really recognizes that children are falling through the cracks, that there is collateral damage in these wars, and it is children, and children who have been robbed of their future, robbed of their security. And if we can just bring that hope, arm them with hope, maybe these kids, we can do something to give them a shot.
It's the father heart of God that I see, and being in Burma and seeing some of those children just made me weep, just wanting to give them some hope, some love. And so we can make a difference. We can make a difference here in this country of affluence to support, and Reload Love is doing that.
So some people would keep asking the question, why? Why Reload Love? Well, because we want to take spent bullet casings and make them into brass charms. Okay, why make charms? Because we want to raise awareness for kids caught in the crossfire. Well, why go to Burma or Iraq or Thailand or Cambodia as we have? Well, because that's where the kids are hurt. And then why go where the kids are hurt? And I would want to just say to our participants, our Army of Love, because we can.
Yes.
Other people can't. These parents can't. The people in that nation can't. But we can. We can just by one charm, and one child can be impacted. So if you ultimately want to ask the question, why? Because we can.
Right.
And you know what? In a world of hate, in a world of war, wouldn't it be wonderful if those of love would rise up, and those who have this hope and this promise of gospel and eternal life in Jesus Christ, wouldn't it be wonderful if the light could consume the darkness? And so that really is our heart and our goal is Reload Love.
That's right. That's right. And
Amen.
just that everybody has the opportunity with our LOVE acronym, we're educating people to learn and to offer and to voice, that everybody has a voice through their social media. Again, like you had mentioned, some people, they can't go on these trips with us, or
that they can tell other people.
Exactly. And so sharing that, and then just choosing to engage by
so LOVE is learn, offer, voice, and engage. So you can reload the love with us. Visit reloadlove.com. And please follow us on YouTube.
Yes.
I Reload Love, and we're on Twitter and Facebook. And Instagram, I Reload Love. So there are multiple ways that you can follow us, tell other people about us, and join the Lovement.
Yes. Yes.